A transportation disaster for the first day of school for JCPS. Some students getting home at nearly 10 o'clock at night.
This was a show, and that it's not going to work.
Tonight, horror stories from parents, reaction from bus drivers, but more importantly, who should be held accountable and what happens next to get kids to and from school safely. Your news starts now.
Thank you for joining us at 5. I'm John Bowl.
And I'm Myra Ansari. To say that it was a disastrous first day for JCPS would be an understatement. And the big question tonight is, will there be school next week?
Let's take a look at these comments we're getting from Facebook. One person saying, quote, somebody needs to be fired after this fiasco.
And another quote says, if the idea was to improve on last year's bus schedule, someone flubbed it badly, heads should roll.
So who should be held responsible and accountable for this logistical disaster? Dozens of JCPS parents have called the station to share some really troubling stories about their children trying to get home yesterday.
And one mother says that her child with autism was dropped off blocks away from his daycare. Wave News reporter Kennedy Hayes spoke to her about how this all happened. Kennedy.
John and Myra, Thomasina Winters tells me this was anything but the way she wanted her son to start off a brand new school year. She says apparently her son's JCPS bus driver was given the wrong bus drop-off location, and she says she is outraged that her son was left stranded and is just thankful that he is safe.
Trucks, oh my God, some kind of stuff.
Thomasina Winters shows me how her son Walter's first day of first grade ended in a dangerous way.
If something would have happened to my son, I just don't know.
Winters says her son has autism and attends Mill Creek Elementary. When his bus dropped him off just after 3 p.m., he knew something was wrong.
She dropped me off all the way down there. I told her that was not my stop. I told her to go straight to the daycare, and she didn't listen.
The bus dropped Hall off near Cecil and Hale Avenues, the opposite side of the street from where he was supposed to stop, near Trinity House Christian Child Care on Greenwood Avenue. The family explained how dangerous the nearly 10-minute walk was for the first grader.
And they come and doing it at 55, 60 miles an hour until they get to this light.
The 7-year-old's grandmother says it was a miracle he knew where to go.
He says he ran, he walked. He ran and he walked. No one was out here to make sure he was delivered.
The family says they are demanding a new plan and answers from JCPS.
What's going to go on from here on? Like, who's going to make sure that my child is safe?
And the director of the daycare responded in a statement saying, in part, we are not understanding why JCPS is not working with us child care facilities because we care for the children the same way as they do. And we reached out to JCPS asking them for a statement and did not hear back. Reporting live, Kennedy Hayes, Wave News.
Lots of complaints, but how did this happen is the question so many people have. JCPS Superintendent Dr. Marty Powell released a video apology this morning to students, parents, bus drivers, and staffers who had to stay late last night with kids.
And our team has a lot of questions for Dr. Polio and other JCPS administrators, but they aren't talking.
Wave News troubleshooter Natalia Martinez went to the Van Hoos Education Center in an effort to try to get some answers. Joins us live with more.
No answers to provide, John, because Dr. Polio refused to give a media statement today. The press people at Van Hoos or at JCPS sent a note around 1:45 telling media that there would be no media availability for Dr. Marty Polio today, despite the debacle. Now, I can say that his spokespeople have tried to answer as many questions through email that we've sent, but of course, that is very different than being able to ask direct questions of the person in charge and also to be able to ask them directly to Dr. Marty Polio who is going to be held accountable and what members of his team perhaps warned him that things were just not quite ready, or did his chief operations officer or the transportation department tell him that things were good? Those are questions that we still don't have answered. What I can tell you is that I have spoken to a number of teachers who say there's no way they're going to be ready by Monday to resume school. So far, they have not gotten any word from the district on what the plan is for next week. However, just a couple of minutes ago, teachers have received a note saying that they do have to report to class tomorrow to continue their planning and other responsibilities. However, of course, we know students won't be going there. So I'm still working to talk to other people in the school system to see what their thoughts are and what else we can learn about what was really going on behind closed doors. Reporting live, Natalia Martinez, Wave News.
So JCPS not speaking with the media today. In the meantime, reporters and parents aren't the only ones asking questions.
Board of Education members want to know how a plan they approve could go so wrong. Wave News reporter David Mattingly has some reaction.
That's right, Maya. We're hearing apologies tonight and promises to get it right. Board of Education Chair Diane Porter says the board will ask Dr. Pollio for a full assessment of why so many children were so adversely affected. The transportation plan was born out of necessity to compensate for not having enough bus drivers. But today, it's looking like the solution is worse than the problem. When Dr. Pollio presented the plan to the board, District 5's Linda Duncan was the only one voting no.
I wasn't sure that we had talked enough with our transportation people to include their knowledge of routes and how things need to be adjusted. And I just didn't feel that we had this plan where it needed to be.
And you just heard that deep sigh there. A lot of disappointment to go around today. Duncan, Porter, and District 2's Chris Kolb are all on record now saying they should have asked more questions before they voted on this. Very likely a lot of those questions will come up Tuesday at the board's next scheduled meeting. David Mattingly, Wave News.
Thank you, David. Well, JCPS agreed to pay Alpha Route, the company at the center of the new JCPS transportation plan, more than $500,000 in June of 2021.
And the board approved the contract without any discussion. Wave News troubleshooter Mark Stevens found Alpha Route's model has run into problems before. Mark.
Yeah, Alpha Route says it can help school districts trim 10 to 30% of their bus fleets with more efficient routing. It uses machine learning, artificial intelligence, and algorithms based on research from MIT. But it is not without controversy. Boston Public Schools began planning to use the algorithm but scrapped the plan back in 2017 after parents revolted. Columbus City Schools hired Alpha Route in May last year, a 3-year contract worth $1.5 million. But it had significant problems during the first 6 months. Public documents and meetings seem to show there were data issues, problems with more students than expected signing up for busing, and an inability to change Alpha Route's program quickly. The school district began switching to a previous route planner in late fall and had kids on new buses and routes after winter break.
At this point, we can't wait any longer. We can't keep beating our head against the brick wall. That's what we feel like we're doing.
The JCPS board approved the $500,000 contract with Alpha Route in the summer 2 years ago. The contract was voted on with several others as part of a routine vote combining multiple items in one. Board minutes show it was not discussed in detail. Alpha Route released a statement saying, in part, we are fully confident that the new bell times and the new routes will work as planned, and we will do everything we can to support the district during this process. It also said it doesn't know what's caused the problems in the first place. Mark Stevens, Wave News.
Interesting. Thank you, Mark. So how did we end up here? January, JCPS saw many issues with their busing routes last year, and in response, JCPS Superintendent Dr. Marty Pollio proposed a solution, which was changing the time students start their day as one of 9 different start times, staggered between 7:40 and 9:30. February, fast forward to when Pollio unveiled the new proposal titled Smart Start. Pollio said the new plan would reduce the number of bus routes from 732 to 600 and alleviate the issue of having bus drivers make double or triple runs to get all the students to school. Now, the Smart Start plan was finally approved in March, 6-1, board member Linda Duncan being the only one who voted against the proposal. You just heard from her. And this past July, Pollio received nearly a $75,000 salary increase on top of his annual base salary of $276,000 a year, which brought the total salary to $350,000 after he got a positive performance evaluation. And just 2 weeks ago, Polio told us that parents waiting an hour and a half would not have to experience that this coming year.
I heard from parents over and over again last year that my child is having to sit at school for an hour and a half after school because of double and triple runs that we've now eliminated. So you're probably not hearing from those families that now are having their kids picked up within 20 minutes after school to be taken home.
Now, a couple of days ago, JCPS spokesman Mark Hebert said, quote, the buses are going to be running a little bit late on that first day of school, so just be prepared on the first day of school. There are going to be some glitches, and we're aware of them. Just be patient. We're doing the best we can. Just yesterday, Polio said to us at Fern Creek Elementary School that he's asking parents to continue to have patience with JCPS. And today, the notice to parents about school being canceled both today and tomorrow with no further updates being provided to the public. Myra?
All right, thanks so much, John. And several LMPD officers in other news today, they were either suspended, disciplined, or fired after the department reviewed the cases from the Department of Justice report. Those details are coming up after the break. And our coverage on the JCPS transportation disaster for JCPS continues at 5:30 as we hear the bus driver's perspective on the new routes. Right now at 5, parents and students on edge after several swatting calls are made to Louisville schools. You're going to hear from neighbors who saw police race to the scene, fearing an active shooter situation.
2 children shot to death in a Bullitt County home and a shocking arrest of their mother.
Plus, Governor Beshear is outlining his plans for his second term. You're going to hear his message to voters and Republican lawmakers ahead at 5.
With breaking news happening now, this is a Wave News Alert.
And this is Wave News at 5. I'm Myra Ansari.
I'm John Ball. Breaking right now, former Clark County Sheriff Jamie Knoll has been arrested for multiple counts of corruption, among other charges.
Wave News troubleshooter Mark Stevens exposed some of the allegations against Knoll months ago. He joins us live in Clark County. And Mark, this is all unfolding right now.
All unfolding in really the last half an hour. What I can tell you right now is former Sheriff Jamie Knoll is now an inmate of the jail that he once ran for 8 years. He will not be staying here overnight. He's going to be transferred to the Scott County Jail, and he'll have a court hearing in Clark County tomorrow and make an initial appearance for the 15 criminal charges that he faces. Here's what we saw earlier today. We were actually having to stand outside the courtroom for a long time. What I think is going on is that there are issues with recusals and conflicts, and so the courts are having to figure out who can hear his case and what the process is going to be. But what I can tell you is that after he was walked out of the courtroom, his attorney, Larry Wilder, was not answering any questions. Jamie himself was not answering any questions. Then we also walked into the jail. That's where he was arrested, escorted by the Indiana State Police troopers, and booked into the jail. The charges he faces includes corrupt business influence, multiple counts of theft, obstruction of justice, multiple counts of ghost employment, and multiple counts of official misconduct. And those are all ranging between level 5 and level 6 felonies. Now, those are on the lower end of the felony scale. Again, we'll get more information once we hear from the initial appearance and we get more details on these charges. We are expecting more information from Indiana State Police, which led this investigation. As you may recall, raided Sheriff Knoll's home, as well as multiple fire stations with New Chapel EMS, the nonprofit business that he organizes and leads and runs. So lots more information that we're going to get. But the big news tonight, former Sheriff Jamie Knoll, now an inmate in the jail system. Reporting live outside the Clark County Jail, Mark Stevens, Wave News.
All right, thank you, Mark. Also breaking right now, a Bullitt County woman has been charged with murder in the shooting deaths of her 2 children, ages 6 and 9.
The shooting happened at a Zone 10 home this morning. Both kids rushed over to Norton Children's in Louisville, but they didn't make it.
Wave News reporter Brandon Spencer joins us with what we know about the arrest.
Yeah, guys, the Bullitt County Sheriff's Office says a witness told them Tiffany Lucas is the shooter. The 32-year-old was booked into jail at around 2:45 this afternoon on 2 counts of murder. An arrest slip says the victims were her sons and that the boys were found in a bedroom covered in blood and that a gun was found on the bed. The Sheriff's Office says a 911 call came in with the reports of a shooting at about 11:07 this morning. When deputies arrived at the home on Bentwood Drive, they found 2 boys, ages 6 and 9, who had been shot. shot. They were both rushed to Norton Children's Hospital, where we learned that they died from their injuries. Neighbors I talked to say it's normally a quiet area, so it's shocking to them to hear such tragic news, especially so close to their home.
I heard all the sirens, and I turned my scanner on, and I didn't know they were down the street. And they said on the scanner that 2 people were shot, and then they said Bentwood Drive, and I said, crap, that's on my street.
Steer said he didn't know the family, but hates to hear that 2 young boys had their lives cut short. Other neighbors told me they saw the boys playing outside as recent as yesterday. Tonight, Tiffany Lucas is being held in the Bullitt County Jail without bond. No word when she'll be arraigned on those 2 murder charges. Brandon Spencer, Wave News.
How about that forecast? 100% chance of winter storm? By golly, we got one.
Right now at 7, parts of Louisville come to a standstill after 12.5 inches of snow. Thousands are without power, and JCPS students won't be back in the classroom until at least Thursday.
I should have checked before I left, but I didn't know.
Travel is still hazardous in some places as neighbors begin to dig out from under the snow and ice. The snow has stopped for now, and from live view, our storm tracker shows the current road conditions. We're helping you prepare for the next round of winter weather. It's all ahead on Wave News at 7.
With Alert Day coverage now, this is Wave News.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us here for Wave News at 7. I'm Dawn G. Kevin Harnett joining us now to at least get you prepared for the next 12 hours. As I know, Kevin, you've been saying that it's going to be colder than normal.
Oh, goodness. We're going down below 0 for many by the time we reach later in the week. And tonight, some areas in the single digits. The alert day continues for the impacts that continue to sort of plague the area after yesterday and today's snowfall and ice for some. As you mentioned, the snow has ended. We put down 10.5 inches of snow in Louisville, marking the largest snowfall in the past 10 years and bumping into the top 10 heaviest snows that Louisville's ever seen. Well, we're at 28 degrees in Louisville, our wind chill 19. We've got cold air coming in from Canada. It's going to spill down in here over the next couple of days. While this area of low pressure and the storm departs, that sets the path for the cold air to now move in. And we're going to feel that overnight tonight. With a mainly cloudy sky, we can't rule out a few flurries tonight or tomorrow, but the precip chances are very low. Our temperatures will be very low too. 11 degrees for our morning start. Some areas in the single digits. Not quite as cold, but still way below averaged areas to our south. The hour-by-hour forecast for the next 12 hours will show those temperatures easing back to 11 degrees by 8 a.m. Now, Dawn, coming up in a few minutes, we'll talk about even colder temperatures later this week, and we've got another snow chance. And that comes on Friday with another alert day. I'll map that out for you in just a bit.
All right, we'll talk to you then, Kevin. Power outages are an issue across our viewing area, especially in Hardin and Bullitt counties. Wave News reporter Alina Noakes visited those areas to check on those needing shelter from colder conditions.
Icy conditions across Kentucky, creating hazards on the roadways in every county.
There's a lot of roads here, and there's a lot of dangers in these roads. But, you know, if we can all work together, I think we can get through this.
Crystallized power lines and tree branches causing thousands to go without power. Some seeking shelter temporarily in warming shelters until their power is restored. Others without a place to go altogether.
Very clean, very safe, very warm, and they got great hearts here.
A community of friends, so is the motto of the city of Hillview. And what better friend is there than the one willing to serve?
Since, you know, the weather is so terribly bad right now, we're just trying to get people off the street, give them a place to, you know, warm up, get some warm food in their bellies.
Mayor Jim Edens, with the help of city staff, has worked since the shelter opened Sunday to help however they can.
And a lot of these folks, they got a little tent, maybe, if they even got a tent. We're blessed enough to have a tent. And we're blessed enough that we have buildings enough that we can move people around and give them some time off, some time away from the outside temperatures and get on the inside and get warm and get a full belly.
Michael Howard knows that struggle all too well, homeless in Jefferson County for a year now.
About 2 weeks ago, we walked 16 hours in the cold trying to find somewhere to stay, and it's unbearable.
Deborah Rowe is also grateful for the help. She planned on sleeping under an overpass in Louisville in her tent, but a medical emergency brought her to Jewish Hospital in Bullitt County, and from there, a cot at Hillview City Hall.
They feed you, they make sure you're warm, they give you clean clothes. They are so sweet here. I mean, it's been all positive.
On the menu for day 2 of a winter storm, they're serving up a classic: grilled cheese, vegetable soup, and a little bit of love.